Greetings fellow Decepticons, Sandblaster1987 here with another animation review mini vlog. Today I'll be going over my all-time favourite stop-motion animated series, Thunderbirds from 1965. Now, bearing in mind that this was set before the events of the Apollo 11 moon landing, the Thunderbird series was created with the idea in mind that the International Rescue Organisation, the main heroes of the series, would be created by one of the first men to land on the moon in the alternate future of 2065, retired billionaire ex-astronaut Jeff Tracy. Of course, like I say, this was 4 years before 1969's Apollo 11 moon landing mission, so obviously they weren't to know at the time who the real first man on the moon would be. But regardless, this series was named for International Rescue's 5 main vehicles for Thunderbirds, which I'll go into in more detail later. But for now, the main cast of characters. Jeff Tracy is, as I said before, the retired billionaire ex-astronaut and first man on the moon in this universe. And he is a 57-year-old widower who lives on a hidden island of the South Pacific Ocean with his 5 sons, his mother, his organization's maintenance engineer, the engineer's lab assistant, and, of course, the family's butler is also the lab assistant's father. So, first, Scott Tracy, the eldest of the Tracy brothers. He is the pilot of Thunderbird 1, and normally the first to respond to an emergency situation. Scott has a mobile control console unit that he can bring from Thunderbird 1 to the general command area of a rescue operation in progress. Normally the main tower of an airport or somewhere like that. And Thunderbird 1 is also equipped with a mobile hover camera drone, a machine cannon for self-defense, and a sonar device that can interact with Thunderbird 4 remotely when working with underwater missions while Thunderbird 1 is still in flight. Thunderbird 1 is the first response, basically, super speed rocket that can go over 15,000 miles per hour. And it's got retractable wings that enable it to land horizontally with retractable landing struts within the wings. Then Virgil Tracy is the pilot of Thunderbird 2, the large heavy-duty cargo transport, which has removable, swappable pod implements as their sort of secondary rescue vehicle transport module device. Now, in the 2015 series, Thunderbirds Are GO, the pods are the easily refitted, basically modifiable individual rescue vehicles within Thunderbird 2, and the cargo capsule is called the module, not the pod, as things got switched around for the series. I'll cover the CGI series in more detail later on. But, regardless, Thunderbird 2 is the main cargo transporter, and Thunderbird 4's main means of accessing the danger zone. Thunderbird 2 can only go about 5,000 miles per hour because it's a lot heavier than Thunderbird 1. But it does contain a lot more rescue equipment, such as a, air-to-air grappling hook, zipline type thing for getting people aboard stricken aircraft in mid-flight to enact repairs and such. It also contains an elevator car firefighting cage, multiple sets of electromagnetic grabs for rescuing smaller vehicles and such like, tranquilizer guns for dealing with gigantic mutant animals from the Attack of the Alligators episode, and much, much more. I'll probably do a separate vlog about the full potential of each Thunderbird craft another time, because otherwise this video will get too long. Alan Tracy, the youngest of the 5, is normally the pilot of Thunderbird 3, with Scott as a co-pilot on more dangerous missions, but he is also supposed to allegedly be on a monthly rotation with his older brother John aboard Thunderbird 5. However, because show creator Gerry Anderson hated the way John Tracy's character came out, John was more or less stuck permanently on Thunderbird 5 for the rest of the series, apart from one-off storylines where, much like in Danger at Ocean Deep, John was able to come back to Earth and swapping out with Alan once in a while. Then, of course, Thunderbird 4, the small submarine, which is carried by Thunderbird 2's Pod 4 vehicle, is piloted by Gordon Tracy, the aquanaut of the team, and Thunderbird 5 is the geostationary orbit monitoring satellite that can filter out and respond to distress calls and emergency messages in pretty much any language across all known radio frequencies. It's in direct geostationary orbit above Tracy Island to maintain maximum contact at all times. Then, like I said before, there are a few other members of the family and close friends living with them on the island. There's Jeff's mother, Grandma Tracy, who has a couple of spotlight episodes and cameo appearances throughout the series. Then there's Hiram K. Hackenbacker, aka Brains, who is the main maintenance engineer responsible for inventing the Thunderbirds craft and keeping them up and running. Brains' lab assistant Tintin, who would later become Alan Tracy's girlfriend as well, who also helps out around the Tracy Island villa where possible, acting as Jeff Tracy's secretary when taking notes and letters and such. Tintin's father Kirano is the family's butler, but this is the main flaw in the international rescue setup, because Kirano's half-brother, the Hood, is the main villain of the series. Although he doesn't really know much about Tintin at the time, and almost killed his own niece once with that Fireflash aircraft bombing the landing gear and such in episode 1, the Hood does seem to use Kirano a lot as their main source of his manipulations. The stop-motion puppets for this series have slightly out-of-scale heads to allow for the electronic wiring of the mouths to move in time to the recorded audio lines. The Hood's head is even bigger and more out-of-scale than the rest because of his glowing yellow mind control eyes for when he glares at people to make them do his bidding or knock them out. This error would later be fixed for the Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons series, along with other later Gerry Anderson projects. But Thunderbirds is actually the second of the Anderson series to be made, with Stingray also having out-of-scale heads. I'll come back to Stingray in another video because I haven't really watched enough of that series to make much judgment about it yet. But, without further ado, moving on. Thunderbird 2's pods contain a lot of secondary rescue equipment. I'll not go over all of it because this video will take all day, but to sum up, there's the Mole, which is a, caterpillar tread type drill tank, which can basically, fire off the main drill part off of its treaded transport trolley. Try saying that 5 times fast. And there are sideways mounted caterpillar treads on the Mole's main drill part to help it reverse course through its own tunnels to get back to the treads on the tractor and such like. There's the Firefly, which is a part fire extinguisher, part bulldozer with a nitroglycerine shell cannon that snuffs out large fires and such, and the bulldozer blade helps it to move rubble and such. Although it is advised for international rescue operators to use the Firefly, wear a heat-proof radiation suit while using this vehicle to protect them from the excessive heat of the large fires and such. The recovery vehicles have magnetic grappling devices to pull heavy objects and vehicles out of a large crater in the ground, as seen in Pit of Peril where the Sidewinder ended up underneath such pits. Then there's a mobile crane truck to help international rescue keep up to speed with out-of-control moving vehicles and raise them up to a deck level where they're able to get aboard and rescue and shut down the vehicle, like with the Crab Logger in Path of Destruction. Thunderbird 4 I've already gone over. And of course there's things like the Monobrake, which is designed to traverse monorail tunnels with a retractable magnetic grabber arm that can clasp onto the, pantograph wire railing and such like for monorails and such. The elevator cars are supposed to be like a mobile landing gear type thing for broken aircraft that can't land with their own landing gear, which have had to be, of course, significantly reinforced and with stronger brakes since their first outing in Trapped in the Sky. And there's many, many more. I'll go into more detail on those in another video. But suffice to say, international rescue are pretty much well equipped to deal with any contingency that arises, including automatic camera detectors in all of the Thunderbird craft, which is a good thing too because the Hood is forever trying to steal their secrets for the highest bidder and make a lot of money out of his own half-brother's group's work. International Rescue also have a London agent called Lady Penelope Crichton Ward. She and her ex-bank robber butler, Aloysius Nosy Parker, have been an invaluable asset to international rescue on countless operations across the world over the years. They also have other agents across the world, but Lady Penelope seems to be one we come back to a lot more often. Then, of course, obviously, the Hood isn't the only main villain of the series. There's also the villainous military contractors he works for, like General Braun and General X, who he tends to work for in an attempt to steal international rescue secrets and sell them off to the highest bidder, as I mentioned before. The Hood sadly also has a, voodoo statue of Kurano in his lair in the Malaysian jungle, which he normally glares at to telepathically cause trouble for Kurano, which normally manifests as a poisonous migraine type of effect that can also cause Kurano to start basically telepathically transmitting secrets to the Hood without him knowing it. As I mentioned before, the Hood doesn't seem to affect Tintin in the same way in this series, the way he does in the 2015 series and the live-action movie, both of which I'll cover in future vlogs. I do need to get back to those at some point. But yes, Thunderbirds is, by my personal opinion, one of the greatest stop-motion animated series of all time, using supermarionation puppetry and Technicolor colour filming techniques and such like in the 1960s. It was created by Gerry and Sylvia Anderson, the same people behind Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, Stingray, Supercar, Lavender Castle, and Fireball XL1 Alpha, and two other series you might be more familiar with, UFO and Joe 90. Now, before I close this video, there are two feature-length films from the 60s series that I need to briefly go over. Thunderbirds Are GO, not to be confused with the 2015 reboot series, was the 1967 feature-length movie that basically ended up with the, Zero X flight to Mars that would end up being the jumping-off point for Captain Scarlet. And Thunderbird Six is basically Jeff Tracy and Brains trying to figure out what the sixth Thunderbird craft ought to be in the midst of a Skyship 1 aircraft situation being hijacked while Lady Penelope and Tintin and Parker are all on board. Fab 1, the Rolls Royce wielded by Lady Penelope and Parker, is sadly destroyed at the end of this film, but according to the Gerry Anderson YouTube channel's Century 21 Tech Talk briefing videos, which go over the technical specifications of various vehicles from the Anderson multiverse, and make various in-jokes alluding to the fact it's all one universe. They state that Brains has managed to rebuild Fab 1 from scratch after that incident. I highly recommend you check out the Century 21 Tech Talk briefings. The first season was made by Brains, the second season was done by Jeff Tracy, with a few people like Gordon Tracy and Parker popping up here and there. Although obviously Peter Dinersley, the voice of Jeff Tracy in the original series, passed away years ago, someone has made a very good effort to try and replicate his original voice for the Century 21 Tech Talk briefings, and David Graham, the original voice of Parker, Gordon and Brains, has returned to voice Parker, Gordon and Brains on the channel as well, for the sake of these videos. Sylvia Anderson, the voice of Lady Penelope, who also voiced Destiny Angel and Captain Scarlet, has also sadly passed away along with her husband Gerry, the creators of the show. But I have to admit, Thunderbirds and Captain Scarlet were a founding part of my childhood and my interest in science fiction going forward. I probably wouldn't even have this channel if it wasn't for Thunderbirds growing up, to be honest. So, with that said, that more or less concludes my review of the original 60s Thunderbirds series. I'll go over the other Anderson series in future at some point, but for now, I've been Sandblaster1987, thanks again for watching. My next toy review will be the LEGO 76042 Ultimate Collector Series Shield Helicarrier set from Age of Ultron in 2015, and my next animation review will be Codename Kids Next Door, a Cartoon Network classic from 2002. Till then, till all are one. FAB.